Hey legends, let's cut through the noise. You're sharp, you've built something meaningful, and people see you as a strong, values-led leader. But somewhere between the Zoom calls and putting out fires with your team and trying not to fall off the roller coaster, you started saying yes when your gut instinct was screaming no, and in some cases, run. You've smiled in meetings when you knew something was BS and everything in you said it was BS, yet you stayed loyal to decisions that no longer align to you, right? Because they looked good on paper, they ticked the boxes and kept moving things along. You felt it, right? That weird tension in your chest and the energy drain that no cold plunge could fix. And this simply isn't fatigue. This is what happens when you abandon your gut, what's meaningful to you, and keep the machine running. So today we're talking about something most leaders don't always feel comfortable admitting out loud. And we're going to run through quite a few ways that many leaders gaslight their intuition and the truth on the other side of that. So what actually happens when you ignore your intuition and betray your integrity, and why no amount of mindset hacks or nervous system rituals will save you from the slow implosion that follows. And I'll show you how that plays out in real life and how we use FIREPIT Inner Resilience Compass to walk leaders back to their core, not to make them find ways to kind of trick their body and mind into feeling okay about going against their core values, nor to make them complacent, but to make them dangerously clear on how they choose to operate in life and to live from that. And here's how doing this offers you internal freedom. So let's get into it. And I've coached founders, CEOs, and coaches who looked unshakable from the outside, but were unraveling in private. They knew the truth long before things broke down, but didn't act on it, because trusting your gut often feels riskier than maintaining the illusion of control. And they told themselves a pattern of, it's just a rough patch. It's probably just me overthinking. I should be grateful it's just working. And meanwhile, they were compromising, right? Quietly, repeatedly, and eventually resentfully, until one day, everything they were trying to hold together, their team, their drive, their clarity, their self-integrity, felt like a house of cards. And I get it. I've overridden my own gut too, more than once. Didn't end well. So, because every time you ignore your inner intuition, you chip away at your own self-rapport and disempower your internal compass. So let's talk about what's really going on here. Most leaders are taught to be strategic, to be logical, to be measured, to be professional, but not to be honest with themselves. So they become excellent at managing people, deadlines, operations, and absolute amateurs at managing their truth within. And here's how this plays out. You agree to things that make you feel sick inside. You're emotionally exhausted after all the, countless harmless meetings that you've got booked into your schedule. Your team senses the tension, but no one names it. You feel stuck in a version of success that no longer fits you, right? The external machine is running, but the internal compass is completely overwhelmed and exhausted. So how do we fix this? We don't go slapping a mindset band-aid on it. We go straight into the fire and rebuild from your core. And here's how the FIREPIT Inner Resilience Compass helps you do that. Integrity. We strip it down to what's true for you and what's not. You start telling the truth again to yourself first and then to others. And that's realignment, right? It clears out so much noise and it feels like a full system upgrade. Trust. If you've ignored your gut long enough, you'll stop trusting it. FIREPIT Inner Resilience Compass helps you rebuild that trust, not by adding new tools, but by reconnecting you to your internal intuition and backing it with action. Energy. Living out of alignment is one of the most expensive things you'll ever do. We identify where you're leaking energy, the yeses you shouldn't have given, the silence that's been eating at you, and we clean it up fast. This is about emotional clarity that fuels everything else. And when you operate from this place, your leadership sharpens, your presence deepens, and you stop carrying around hundreds of layers of emotional weight that were never yours to begin with. So here's some of the ways that leaders gaslight their intuition and anti-fragility and the truth on the other side of it. I'm just overreacting. I know you know what that feels like. You feel uneasy about a decision, but you downplay it. You were taught to stay calm and suppress emotion. You ignore gut signals and greenlight poor hires, partnerships, launches, relationships, and this erodes self-trust and compounds regret. And when you stop and see the tension for what it is and choose to lead differently with anti-fragility, you make faster, cleaner decisions and reduce messy misalignments. This is probably just my ego talking, and you hear the blame game of the ego a lot in the coaching world and personal development world as well, right? So you feel resistance, but shame yourself for being too full of yourself. You've internalized that ambition equals arrogance. You undercut your own ideas and back away from bold moves. And you play small to seem humble, and yet you know deep down it dilutes your impact. When you look through the lens of truth here versus performance based on expectations that go against your core values, you respect your own ideas, you respect your vision, you respect your intuition and your decisions, and others respect them too. I don't have proof, so I can't act on it. You feel something's off, but talk yourself out of it. You've been conditioned only to trust logic. You override instincts and get stuck in overanalysis. So logic without instincts equals paralysis. So if you let your wisdom, intuition, and integrity lead, it puts you back in the driver's seat. You take aligned action faster, and your results, your outcomes, and the process to accomplishing them builds internal strength, and you get to grow with that. It's probably just imposter syndrome. You question yourself and instantly invalidate it. You're afraid of being too emotional or being seen as super fragile. You keep pushing forward despite burnout and inner misalignment. You ignore the quiet whispers, the taps on the shoulders, right? That something isn't right, that leads to breakdown, not breakthroughs. So if you listen to your intuition, your gut instinct, and are strong in your values instead of deflecting, you make powerful decisions more efficiently and resolve issues as they come along before things blow up on you. By the way, if you're realizing you've been overriding your gut, don't wait until things fall apart. Grab the check-in link below. You'll answer a few key questions, and I'll send you back a private audio showing you exactly what's happening beneath the surface and how to reset your leadership before things fall apart. Consider this my gift to you and a premium touch point to give you clarity right now. Other people seem fine with it, so I must be wrong. You feel something's off, but everyone else is on board. You defer to the crowd instead of your own internal compass. You follow consensus and end up stuck in resentment or mediocrity. And this extinguishes innovation and your energy. And if you choose aligned action, even if it's unpopular, with meaningful intention, you lead with integrity and you attract people who value, respect, and appreciate that. Maybe I'm just being too sensitive. Your stomach clenches, but you dismiss it as drama. You've internalized that sensitivity equals weakness, and you ignore subtle red flags until they become a crisis. So don't ignore this. This is data. It's intel, right? So not some dysfunction to berate yourself about. Tune into that data, that information, your intuition. Train your body and mind to pay attention to that. You get to catch things early and lead with your emotional intelligence, your resilience, and your anti-fragility versus reactivity. I've made my bed, now I have to lie in it. You know the decision isn't right anymore. You feel trapped by your past commitments and patterns. You stay in misaligned situations out of guilt and trying to fix them, gaslighting yourself into telling yourself that your loyalty at your own expense is helping the situation or someone when it's actually self-abandonment. And if you give yourself permission to course correct, you get to reclaim momentum and lead from self-trust, integrity, and not shame or blame. It's just a rough patch. I should push through. You're feeling constant tension, but dismiss it as temporary. You're wired, but you keep pushing through. You're running on adrenaline instead of alignment, and this leads to burnout masked as high performance. And if you re-anchor yourself to your empowered FIREPIT inner resilience compass and make decisions from that, you stop burning down your vision to keep the machine running. I've coached founders who look bulletproof on the outside until they admitted, Mandy, I kept saying yes when my gut screamed no. And it cost me my clarity, my team, and nearly my company. And the moment they re-anchored to their compass, everything shifted. I don't want to seem high maintenance. You know what you need, but you won't ask for it. You don't want to seem difficult. You silently tolerate misalignment while pretending you're fine, and you end up emotionally leaking into other areas of your life. So stop for a moment and take responsibility and ask for what supports you. You get to show yourself and others what it looks like to take personal responsibility and self-accountability and bring yourself some inner freedom at the same time. I can handle it. You know it's not right, but you push forward to prove you're capable. You equate resilience with a distorted view of stoicism, and you carry more than you need to, even when it's destroying your spark, even when you see the repercussions of that playing out. And self-neglect doesn't equate to strength. It doesn't equate to resilience or anti-fragility or even growth. And if you choose to lead differently with anti-fragility and leveraging strengths from resilience, not martyrdom, you get to delegate, you get to rest, you get to rebuild traction and self-rapport instead of tolerating overload. I don't want to mess this up. You feel off, but are afraid to trust your instincts. Fear of failure overrides self-trust. You play it safe and betray your deeper wisdom. And playing small to avoid mistakes, even if you know it'll lead to long-term regret. So if you trust the nudge and back yourself to figure it out, you will allow more creativity to kick in and create a different solution where you can powerfully lead. I need to just be grateful. You sense it's time to grow or shift, but you feel guilty, and gratitude becomes a smokescreen for fear of expansion, and you shrink your ambition to avoid discomfort. Being grateful doesn't mean being complacent. So when you honor gratitude versus misapplying it, you lead and expand with grounded conviction, not guilt. This is what leaders do. We sacrifice. You say yes to things that violate your energy. You've BS'd yourself into thinking that leadership is martyrdom, and you burn yourself out to be in service, and you teach your team to do the same, and everyone suffers across the board when you do this. When you lead powerfully by example from your FIREPIT inner resilience compass, you get to do so without self-desertion. And this creates a culture that shifts by default because you stop running on fumes. I just need to be more disciplined. You ignore intuition, you ignore your gut feeling, and blame lack of willpower. You're trying to mindset your way through misalignment, and you guilt yourself into staying stuck, disciplining yourself without being honest with yourself. And when you operate in congruence to your core values and what's meaningful to you, you have more sustainable energy. You trust your intuition and gut instinct and operate in life with more efficiency. I'll just keep going and figure it out later. You feel off, but postpone addressing it. Survival mode habits take over, and you normalize dysfunction until it feels like the baseline, and later never comes and the costs get higher. If you're watching this and you know it's time to stop playing catch up with your leadership, to stop spinning in the same cycles of stress and start leading from a place of clarity, conviction, resilience, and anti-fragility, then here's what's next. If you're leading a team and you can feel the pressure starting to show in ways that aren't being talked about, I've got you. I've put together a quick leadership and anti-fragility check-in. Just answer a few straight up questions about your team, and I'll personally record for you a short audio. No fluff, just practical insight on how to keep your people steady, resilient, and thriving, even when the challenges hit. The link's below, and it's on me my gift to you, and it'll give you clarity right now. And if you're carrying the weight of leadership yourself, I want to make this personal. I created the FIREPIT Resilience and Anti-Fragility check-in just for you. It's a short set of questions, and once you've filled that out, I'll send you a personal audio that's honest, that's direct, and focused on showing you what's happening beneath the surface and what it'll take to shift into steadier ground with conviction, resilience, and joy. So the link's below. It's on me, my gift to you, and it'll give you instant clarity. The next step, click on the link below, choose your path, and let's make sure you're not just resilient, but you're anti-fragile, unshakable, and leading on your terms. Lead well, stay strong, and I'll see you in the next one. And if this hit home, don't stop there. Watch Shifting from Survival to Strength, Resilience and Anti-Fragility for Unshakable Leadership. It's a powerful reset if you've been running on survival mode for too long. Or go to Resilience Isn't Enough, how anti-fragile leadership future-proofs high-performance leaders, where I'll show you why pushing harder isn't the answer and what actually is. Pick the one that feels most relevant to you right now, and let's keep going.